You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shoe In Show. Happy holidays. Kickstarting in October, I guess. Last year, I remember going into the store and seeing witches right next to Elf on a Shelf. So I guess that's the norm, which is cool, I guess. But we have traditionally done our holiday surveys the start of November because that's typically the traditional calendar, right? People start to ramp up a little bit more in November. They're purchasing, especially around, Black Friday. I can remember my dad and I lining up at different stores to get the deals,
What
early
deals
in the morning.
were you going for, man?
I think, CDs or TVs or something like that back in the day at Best Buy.
Yeah.
I did line up one year at a shoe carnival with my dad to get a pair of Sperry's that were on super sale.
Uh-huh.
They were like $29 or something like that. It was crazy. So we lined up at
crazy.
5 a.m. or something like that. So which I loved. I thought it was awesome. Now it's just really different. I even loved on Thanksgiving looking at the circulars, which I think,
I love doing that, man.
I do too. I don't know, if my kids in 15 years are one, going to be driving, they may have just driverless cars, or two, if there'll be circulars that they'll even know what I'm talking about
Right.
when we're talking about holiday shopping. So, but we put a survey into the field. We asked 1,000 families across the country their buying habits and shopping habits for the holiday season. How much they're going to buy, where they're going to buy, etc., just to help give our members and the industry at large a little bit more insights. Last year was super difficult to figure out how we're going to ask the right questions because not many people were leaving their houses, right? We had a portion of the country that were fully going back to malls. We had another portion of the country that were petrified of going to malls or going to strip malls or anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like I'm watching college football games and hundreds of thousands of people are flooding the field. And it seems like some of that fear is really reduced, obviously. So
Yeah.
This year's questions, we tried to comp against last year and in previous years to see what was happening. First question we asked, Matt, was right off the bat, how likely are you to actually purchase new shoes for yourself or someone in your family this holiday season as a gift? We got 55% very likely, 25% somewhat likely, 20% not likely. So we got 80% of smart Americans in this poll wanting to buy shoes right off the bat. So it's going to be, obviously in terms of gifts purchased this holiday season, there's going to be a pair of shoes per family, seemingly, that's going to be happening. Next question we asked. So we segmented, we took that 80% of people who said they were going to buy, and we asked them these questions in order to get a better poll and sample. We asked, do you plan on making your holiday shoe purchase online for home delivery, or do you plan on going to a local retailer store to buy shoes, or order online, pick up local? 72% said that they were going to online purchase, ship directly to their home. 28% said that they would pick up locally. This is a big shift than what we've seen in the past, Matt.
Yeah, it is a huge shift, Andy. And what's interesting about it is that the conversation right now broadly within the industry is more bullish around brick and mortar. That doesn't mean e-commerce is less important, but I think there is a realization across the industry, and we talked about this with Mark Warden, the new CEO of Shoe Carnival, on an episode just a few weeks ago, but that there's a optimism about brick and mortar. And e-commerce is continuously growing, but there's a ceiling to it, right? And so most people are going to want to still go into brick and mortar retail outlets to buy footwear. But when it comes to holiday shopping and this survey in particular, by 3-1, people want to shop online. And I think that's one, because consumers have been socialized to it throughout the pandemic at all age levels. There have been prior surveys where older folks baby boomers and above weren't really socialized to e-commerce purchasing. That's gone. And then you have all this messaging, and we'll get to a little bit more detail in just a minute, but all this messaging around, you got to get your stuff now because we may not be able to get it to you. And so I think there's an expectation that it's super convenient to go ahead and place the order online to get it, start that process of trying to get it to your door. And so people are just much more comfortable with online than they have been in years past.
Yeah, and folks, you can grab the full survey report is posted on FDRA.org. Just look on the main page. You'll see that. You can pull it up. You can get all this data and all the analysis that we're talking about today there. But we're going to pull out a little bit more because we have more anecdotes because of who Matt and I speak with in the industry about what's happening, just as he just said. I do think it's interesting that when we asked, when you break out the age differences, 65 and older are evenly split, 50% online, 50% in store. I think the people bullish on brick and mortar are the ones that are serving families, right? Kids that got growing feet that need to go in and get fit. Most people, though, that may be single or just know their brand. Maybe they buy a size 7 in Nikes and they know how it fits, and they're going to keep going back to those. So I think it's a difference in the consumer base of what's happening, and we need to be cognizant of that. We did say, okay, if you're the percent saying that they were going to purchase in stores, we said, okay, where do you plan on going in store to shop this holiday season? And we gave them 3 options. 34% said they would shop at mass retail stores, big box stores like Target, Walmart, or Costco. 45% said store chains like Famous Footwear, DSW, Rack Room, Foot Locker, Shoe Carnival, etc. And then 21% said department stores like Macy's, Nordstrom, or Kohl's. I think it makes sense. It's kind of balanced in many ways. I think the department store as a percent is growing lower because if you walk in a department store, unless it's a Nordstrom, no one's really servicing the shoe department anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But the store chains, the local store chains make sense. They're nearby. The mass retail stores, all the percents look in line with what people may expect. So I think as you look at that, Matt, do you have any extra additions?
I do. I think I'd be really interested. I almost wish we can't do it, but I almost wish we could do this on a weekly basis throughout the holiday season, Andy, because I think what is really interesting is that there's all this messaging on supply chain. People are freaked out about getting their goods. Heck, the Vice President of the United States, she said recently, hey, make sure you're buying your stuff early because you may not get it in time. And so when you're online and you're purchasing online and you're waiting for that product to come, there's a lot less certainty than driving down the street to a Shoe Carnival, which is a mile or two away, walking in the store or to a Rack Room or Famous and seeing what inventory they have and then buying something that meets your needs. And it may not have been your first choice. It might be your second or third choice, but at least you get it and you have it and you know that it'll be there for gift giving or for yourself. And so this isn't a surprise as far as where people want to go. The family retail chains, like as you just said, are really doing a good job of meeting the needs. They seem pretty confident on their inventory in spite of what's happening on the challenges of getting product. And I think that even over the life of this holiday shopping season, you might see that 72% expectation of buying online that we previously talked about might start to come down as we get closer to time crunch and people are just going to see what inventory are at places like a Shoe Carnival or Famous Footwear.
I think that's a great point. And folks, as you read the survey, when you get it off FDRA.org, you'll see in there breakouts by salary categories or earnings categories about where they are. One interesting thing was, again, is we drilled down on this thing, the plurality or majority of all the shoppers that are shopping somewhere locally at a store said that they're going to go to a store chain. Those aged 50 to 64, 60%, nearly 70% of them plan to shop at a mass retail store. So again, who are you targeting? Who's going in? How do you communicate that and align your holiday marketing to those folks in those different segments? Next question then was to the people who are doing the online shoe shopping. We asked them, okay, where are you shopping online this holiday season? Where are you purchasing your shoes? So this was interesting too, because in the years past, Amazon dominated. I mean, they were over 50% at least in 2019, as I recall. Now they're down to 37%. So Amazon's still preferable. It's still the top destination for many people making online footwear purchases. It makes sense. People are accustomed to purchasing there and getting Amazon packages, so it does make sense. What's interesting is the brands have increased. And maybe this is limited product, maybe this is interesting product you can't get anywhere else, but 32% said they go to the shoe brand's website, like at Nike.com or Vans.com or SteveMadden.com to purchase those shoes. Then we go down to 20% for a retailer's website, like a Nordstrom, Foot Locker, or Target. So there's traditional retailers that have product. They go there 20%. Then you get the last kind of little piece is Zappos or other shoe-specific sites. So dedicated, like a GOAT or something like that, is 8%. I think again, this makes sense. It's interesting to me that Amazon has such a precipitous drop, though, and I actually think it's accurate. But I think that brands, because of what we've seen from several years now, are building up wisdom and capabilities on their own brands' websites. I think they have a strategy in how they want to release shoes, limited edition shoes, or only shoes that you can get on their site. Or membership or something like that, right, Matt? I think there's just something that's happening that's having them gain more share than they did in the years past.
I agree with you, man. This is the one data point in the entire survey that really gets me going, because we've been seeing these public pronouncements from brands about how they are focusing their efforts on their digital channels, the ones that they own specifically. Nike's been very upfront about starting to cut down on all of its accounts with independent retailers, with other retailers. We see this in the news as they announce where they're going to be pulling out from, so they can focus on diverting customers to their specific brand-owned channels, because clearly the margins are better. They can control their own destiny. It's just an easier life and a more profitable life for these companies. And so we've been hearing that. But you never want to kind of you don't want to take the biggest company in our industry like Nike and then lay that out across the entire industry and expect that's some big trend. So to see the numbers where Amazon, just last year, Andy, a year ago, Amazon was 44%, right, to 37. A year to that, you mentioned 50%. I mean, the brand-owned website went last year, 19% last year to 32% this year. And so, again, all this kind of this enhanced energy, concentrated energy during COVID on e-commerce purchasing, we're seeing these new trend lines. We're seeing brands really excel at their strategies to drive more traffic to their sites. And I think this is welcome news for the industry, in all honesty. Amazon is an important part of the retail landscape for us. It will be that way for a long time. But when we can peel some market share away from Amazon to these brand-specific sites, I think that's good news for everybody.
Yeah, and one of the other key data points we saw in looking at and diving down into the breakouts and we do breakouts based on age categories, racial categories, family income, regions around the country. The majority of those making $150,000 more a year said they plan to shop directly from shoe brands on website. That means more wealthy Americans are going to those shoe brand websites. So I think that's the caveat, right? We need to think in terms of income and what they're looking for, who has the purchasing power. And I think that's why some family retailers are focused very specifically on middle income families. And that's why brick and mortar, their strategy may be very effective versus a brand like a Nike who is targeting those higher income folks to shop directly on their website, perhaps. So, and of course, that's just touching the surface of those conversations, and that people like Chris Burns have been having a lot of those conversations for many years, and he'll go more in depth in that than I ever could. But that's just a cursory look at that. We asked what type of shoes people are likely to buy this holiday season. We gave them 3 categories this year: casual shoes, athletic shoes, or dress shoes, fashion shoes, if they're coming back. 45% said casual, not a shock. Based just on my research, Matt, of going to my local Giant and seeing people in slippers and pajamas. Athletic
Giant shoes. Is a Giant, just for the people not in the Mid-Atlantic, is a grocery store.
It's a grocery store, yeah.
It's not a giant fellow who sits on the corner and
exactly
has a chat with you.
That's right, grocery store. Thank you for that. 33% said athletic shoes. 22% said fashion dress. I'm a little surprised. At 22% said fashion or dress shoes, because I think it's. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I don't know if it's higher or lower than I expected. I think it's higher than I expected, to be honest with you.
According to our survey, I'm reading it right now, and I'll take our survey this word for it. It's similar to what it was last year.
Yeah.
So I think we're continue to be in these pandemic trend lines. What it's interesting is if we get back to a lot more in-person events in 22, will that number change in our 22 survey? I don't know. But the casualization in America continues, and this isn't a big surprise to me.
Yeah. And I was out picking up takeout food on Saturday at the Reston Town Center nearby where I live, and there was a homecoming dance, and kids were all dressed up again and needed those dress shoes. So we'll see. This year we asked a very interesting question, and it's tied directly into every person's business right now in the footwear industry. Retailers have already started holiday marketing due to supply chain disruptions. So we dropped this in specifically to kind of perk up people's ears, because the news media has been all over this too about, retail chaos during the holiday season. Even the president speaking about this. And if it's on Good Morning America, then it's pretty broad. So we asked them, based on the marketing, but also based on the fact that there might be shortages. When
Robin Roberts and Michael Strahan are talking about it, then it's like critical math, right?
Exactly. So when do you expect to make your holiday footwear purchase? And we gave them three options. Again, 52% said right now. Half of Americans are shopping for their shoes right now. The response was, the question was, but the option was between now and Black Friday. So October through mid-November, right now, half of Americans are going to be looking for shoes right now. So that's a huge shift than what we've seen in previous years, where people are looking for the best deals on Black Friday through Cyber Monday. That was 32%. So we still got, a third of Americans looking for that deal. 16% this year is sometime in December before Christmas, so December 25th. So in particular, it's very interesting. There's always going to be, I think, 15 to 20% of Americans that are going to wait to the last minute, right? Yeah. So their nature maybe. But to have people willing to make a purchase for the holiday season before it really feels like the holiday season around Thanksgiving leading into Christmas is really interesting to me.
I agree, man. And if our listeners remember last year, we had a delay in Amazon Prime Day because of COVID. And so then they launched in October last year, and that really started the mad rush toward the holiday season, if you will. That didn't happen this year, but Walmart's already come out and said, here are Black Friday deals, walmart.com. And I think the messaging, it just shows you the power of media and messaging around, hey, this thing is happening. We have supply chain chaos. It's going to be difficult to get goods. Go buy stuff. And here, the survey shows that respondents are listening, are hearing that message, and at least mentally and emotionally adjusting their plans to buy product now. In fact, the annual kind of when grandma goes around, my mom goes around to our kids and says, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Usually it's happened even earlier this year just because of that messaging, right? So I think we're all in this posture of we got to make sure that we get all of our crap here in time for our consumeristic Christmas.
Yep.
And the time to do that is now.
And again, when you read the report, FDRA.org, you can see the holiday survey there. You'll see the breakouts by age category or income category about which different segments are going to be shopping when, so you can drill down on that. We asked, do you plan on spending more or less this holiday season on all the shoes you buy compared to last year? So your total footwear spending for the holiday season 2021 compared to 2020, 39% plan to spend more money. That's great news. 21% plan to spend less money. 40% plan to spend the same amount as last year. So if you look at it, it's we're 20% up from what we were last year. So it should seemingly be a very good holiday season. Again, if you go to the survey on FDRA.org, you'll see the breakouts by male, female, ethnicity. To the responses of that. But 39, almost 40% said they're going to spend more money. 40% are going to spend the same amount. 20% say they're going to spend a little bit less. So all in all, pretty good.
I mean, when you think about the best laid plans, Andy, this question is really interesting to me from a human behavior perspective, because we all plan a lot of stuff, right? I plan to spend X amount when I go buy a car. I plan to spend X amount when I'm purchasing a home, but you often find you're spending a little bit more than you plan. So in an inflationary environment that we find ourselves in, if you want that pair of shoes, you're probably going to be spending more. So that 21% might just be delusional.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can say that for sure. I got no problem saying that about Americans. So, then we asked, what's the total amount that you plan on spending on footwear this holiday season? We ask this every single year as well, just to see, what's the spending range that people are going to have. In many ways, this tells you, family spending, where they might spend, et cetera, but also, as a whole, what we're looking at in terms of the range. But 29% said less than $100, so maybe a pair, maybe two pairs. 50% said $100 to $250. Now, I'm trying to remember what happened last year. It looks like the 2020, most people were saying they're going to spend less than $100. The amount that plans to spend $250 to $500 this year increased 5 points. And the people who plan on spending more than $500 has increased 2% to 6%. So you got less than $100 is 29%. 100 to 250, which is the sweet spot, 50%. And then the people who are really doubling down and really wanting to buy their shoes this holiday season, 17% between 250 to 500, and then more than 500 at 6%. So I think it's better than what we had last year in terms of higher spend, and maybe that pretends what you were saying about higher prices. But I just think as we're looking at total consumer spending on footwear that we track every single month, I did numbers with Gary, and I realized the average American spending $50 more this year than they did in 2019, which basically means an extra pair of shoes. So I think that's maybe what we're seeing here is the extra pair added in with all the extra disposable income.
And you look at that less than 100. If you add up the less than 100 and the 100 to 250, you're in 80% of respondents, and that is like the wheelhouse of the family retail channels that you talked about, right? So that's why they're well positioned to have a great holiday season.
And then the last question as we wrap up our session today, the holiday survey, again, FDRA.org, download it and see all the breakouts. And we asked this specifically because we want to know about discounting and prices. So this goes back to supply chain issues, costing in general. And the question is this: if you do not see typical holiday discounts, 20%, 30%, maybe even 10% in a store or online, will this impact your decision to buy a pair of shoes if you really like and want them? Meaning you see them, you're like, great style, great color, really like those shoes. If you don't see the discount, are you going to buy them or not? It's evenly split, Matt. 50%, it's 49, 51, but basically it's 50%. No, I'm not going to buy them, even if I want them, unless I see a discount. 50% said, yes, I'm likely to purchase them if they're not on sale because I want them that badly. I think, again, this is a behavioral thing, right? If they see them, they're having a good day, they're going to buy them. Maybe they're having a bad day, they're going to buy them. But I would say if we asked the same question in 2019, the number would be completely skewed towards, if I don't see a discount, I'm not buying them.
Yeah, I think you're right.
People are willing to spend the money.
I agree, man. I think you're right. And one of the things I really enjoy conversating about with our retailers in particular is the human behavior around when tax returns hit or when paychecks do this, or, all these little economic things. You mentioned in a recording that's going to come out, just to peek behind the curtain, this notion of the child tax credit that's hitting right now. So can you imagine the child tax credit days over the next 2 months that hit? What will sale, if there's not a sale on something, again, I'm getting really granular here, but if you're someone who's a discerning consumer and there's not a sale on a pair of kicks that you want, but you really want them, and it's the day that hits your account, that child tax credit, you might flip to, the 50% that would definitely go for it. So everything is the variables are innumerable. They're complex, but when it comes down to more money in the system, more people buying, I think more people at the end will side on the will land on the side of not worrying about the discount and going for the pair of shoes. Particularly if they can get them and there's a scarcity around it, they can get them. I think they'll definitely go for it.
Exactly. Well, folks, that's the holiday survey for 2021. Again, go to FDRA.org to download it down and take a look at that. Hopefully you can use that in your marketing teams to better target, to think a little bit more clearly as we go through. But people are shopping right now. People are buying right now. We hope you guys have a safe and healthy sales holiday season. We're hoping you do. But on behalf of Matt and myself, we really appreciate you tuning into this week's episode. Again, every Monday is a new Shoe and Show where we're talking about some facet of the footwear business and the footwear industry. And we appreciate you guys listening. If you have questions about the survey, drop us a line at info@fdra.org or go to shoeandshow.com to see our other episodes, listen to our other episodes, and you can drop us a voice note on there on the bottom left corner, and we'll get those and respond as needed. But again, thank you guys so much. And until next time, Shoe In is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.